Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of What Drives You. I'm Stan Windhorn. I'm one of your co-hosts, and with me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host Carl Bauer. Carl, say hello to everyone.
Hey, everybody, I'm excited about today. Thank you guys for joining as always. We got a super special guest who's got way more car experience than me. And just as they have that saying, nice guys finish last. That is not true because here's a living proof of that in Mr. Mike Magnusson. Welcome.
Thank you very much. They appreciate the invitation.
Yep. So Mike is not actually too far from me. I think are you in Schaumburg today?
In Schaumburg.
Okay. So he is the owner. Stan, just give you a little background on Mike. He is the owner of an agency, mostly automotive ad agency in Chicago. They got one big customer, which we all will know about. We'll talk about in a second. But he started that from literally nothing, working another agency. But even before that, Mike worked at the Chicago Tribune like I did. So Mike, kind of share with us how you got into advertising and auto way back in Tribune days or before.
Well, really, it all comes down to trying to figure out how to pay for college. And so I was a journalism major at the time, earlier in college. And when I was a sports editor of my college newspaper. I went to Triton Junior College in River Grove, Illinois. And so I'm getting my stories picked up from the local newspapers, the Suburban Life newspaper network and stuff. So one day the editor-in-chief wanted to meet with me and my professor just to have a conversation and learn more about me and kind of what was driving me. And so one of the questions that I asked him toward the end of the conversation was, if I were to get a full-time job, I graduate, I have a journalism degree, get a full-time job, what could I expect to make? Now I'm a sophomore in college. This is 1987. And he said, well, you're not going to get a full-time job. You're going to string, which means freelance, for a bunch of different newspapers, and you'll probably make, 15 grand a year. Well, in 1987, that's poverty. That's poverty even then. So I went right to my school counselor, and I said, I'm motivated, and I love to write. I like the creativity, but I need to make money at the same time. So she advised that I go into public relations. So I went to Illinois State University and entered their PR program. And when I was in the PR program, or when I first got to the school, I put myself through school, so I had to figure out tuition and eating, and both are a priority. So I worked at Burger King flipping burgers for about a week, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So I went to the school newspaper, and they didn't have any job openings for me, and I was really bummed about that. And then last minute there was an opportunity and to sell advertising for the advertising department. And I absolutely fell in love with it because you're creative, you're selling, and it was commission based, so I can make money. And it was just one of those things in life that you're going down one path and you discover another, similar areas, and I just completely fell in love with the process. So fast forward, I became the advertising manager of the Daily Vedette, which was Illinois State's daily paper. And then I interviewed at the Chicago Tribune, and they hired 6 people. There were 800 applicants. There were 6 people that they hired, and I was fortunate to be one of them. So that's kind of how I got into the advertising end of things. And then 4 years later, I had an offer from an ad agency that I couldn't refuse. And it was just something that, hey, I'm kind of propping up my life here. I'm newly married. And it was an opportunity where the vice president of advertising at the Tribune at the time said, listen, I think I agree this is a good opportunity for you. If it doesn't work out, you always have a job back here. So they gave me a safety net. And I'll never forget Kathy Waltz for that. She was the classified director at the time. And it was just one of those things that I went into working at this agency, and then worked there for 4 years, realized that there was some issues at that agency that I don't think would ever be corrected, and I had a client encourage me to start my own agency, and that's how it all happened.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Hey, Mike, I got to relate to something that you had talked about. I went to school down in Southern Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
a radio and television major, and we're getting ready to graduate, and they got all of the graduating radio and television people in this room, and they had a bunch of industry, like guys who owned radio stations and TV stations. This panel of experts. And one of my classmates raises his hand. He said, "Yeah, I want to know why I just spent 4 years going through college to find out that I'm going to make about as much as a grocery store clerk." And the whole panel starts chuckling. And they said, "Son, you're going to make less than a grocery store clerk." And I went, "Whoa, maybe that wasn't the correct major
Yeah.
after all." So I just can relate to what they told you about
Yeah,
the journalism
totally.
thing.
Yeah.
Mike, was that back to the Tribune part? Because I seem to, Stan and I have joked about this a little bit. I seem to come to all these companies, as you know, Mike, I've had multiple jobs at different companies. I'm always on the backside of the glory days. When you were at the Tribune, was that when they were expense reports and flying people and contests, or what era were you there at the Tribune? Because there was a long stretch there where they were just whining and dining.
So 1989 is when I started, and I mean they were the strongest media property in Chicagoland. I mean, they just were the king of the hill. And I was fortunate to have my name on a Tribune business card. I mean, I was so proud of the fact that I was able to rep the Tribune, and it's something that I read growing up. So it was the glory days, and the reason why I went to an agency, I would have stayed at the Tribune forever. I mean, that was kind of my vision. I am going to grow here. I'm going to climb the ranks and one day be, hopefully in a very high position. And so I had won 2 awards. I won an Achievement Award my second year there, and I won the Campbell Award my third year there. And the Achievement Award is the second highest in advertising. The Campbell Award is the highest award in advertising. And so I was on the right path, and I went and I sat with the vice president of advertising, a different vice president, and I asked what my career path was. And I said, I'd really like to get into management. And he's like, "Well, Mike, it's going to be about 15 years before you'll even be considered for management, because we need to put you in this type of territory or that type of territory, and that's going to be about a 15-year period of time." And I'm thinking to myself, 15 years? That's insane. But when you look at the company, and to your point, they were a powerhouse. Nobody left. So a management position only gets vacated when somebody retires. And nobody was retiring, nobody was quitting and moving on to another company or anything like that. So it was impossible to get in other than through retirement attrition. And I'm like, that's not my timetable. I'm in a very, very different timetable. And that's the only reason why I looked elsewhere and started listening to agencies who were calling me up saying, "Hey, would you be interested?"
Yeah, it's funny because they were, Stan, just for a season, I mean a long season, they were, if you worked, it was almost like working for Google now, right? Or Facebook. That's how prestigious those jobs were.
Yeah.
And even when, kind of fast forward to when I was sitting in Austin in that little crappy apartment I had, staying across from the office, and Joe Chura rang me up and said, "Hey, you want to come back to Chicago and sell our products?" So that was kind of my entry back to the Tribune. But let's back up a smidge there, Mike. So how I was at Dealer Fire, Bill was at Dealer Fire, Matt Cole was at Dealer Fire, Joe was a customer. We're talking about Bill Anderson, Joe Chura, and Matt Cole. Bill had come to work for you for a minute after kind of dabbling with some Dealer Fire stuff. How did that whole connection and birth, because you had just told the story how you got encouraged and birthed in a safety net to go do your deal.
Yeah.
I think you kind of had some of that magic around Joe and Matt. So tell us about that, how that whole deal came together.
Yeah, so Bill Anderson and I knew each other for a long time. He was in the agency space, working for a different agency, and then he started his own, which is the similar track that I was on. And we went through the financial recession back in 08, 09. And quite frankly, I feel like I got a doctorate in how not to go out of business. And it was just, it was a tough time. So unfortunately, Bill, his agency, folded, and he pursued other things. So he and I were talking, and I said, I want this guy on my team. And so I hired him onto Pinnacle to work for me and to help build our dealer business and things like that. And he was really into digital, and obviously working with Dealer Fire. So we had been having calls with him and Matt Cole working at Dealer Fire. And I thought to myself, this guy, Matt Cole, he is extraordinary. He's super sharp. He is just thirsty every day for more knowledge. And he's very insightful. And not only does he understand sales, he understands the tech side of it. So that's a unique combination. So he and I were talking, and he wanted to get to Chicago. And so I offered him a job. And he said, I don't know if I want to work for somebody else, but I'd like to do something with you. He said, I would like you to meet a guy named Joe Chura. And he explained what, Joe was doing. I believe he was a general manager at a Ford store, and he was running this Ford store here in the Chicagoland area. And he said we should get together and just talk about, what we might be able to do together. So we met at this restaurant called Wildfire in Schaumburg, and we sat in the bar area. As memory has it, we just ordered a bottle of wine and sat and we talked. And we talked for maybe 2.5, 3 hours, and we agreed there that we would create a company between the three of us. So that's how Launch Digital Marketing was started. It was born there. And so we got with an attorney, we signed all the paperwork, and inside of Pinnacle, inside of the offices here, we had some space. I said, this will be Launch's offices here. So it all started right here in Schaumburg, and it was an unbelievable ride. Joe is brilliant. He's a great operator. He really understands, obviously, the business side of things, but he understands, like Matt, the marketing side, and he's a very special person. Matt is an extraordinary person, and we had a lot of clients here at Pinnacle, and they helped not only onboard the digital side of the business of our current clientele, but that gave us a lot of opportunity to go out and pitch new clients. And we grew the business significantly in the auto side and the non-auto side. So that's kind of how it all started.
It's a little bit, to me, though, luck, fate, whatever, but there's also a genius behind it, not blowing smoke up your rear, Mike, but just say, I see these young talents. I'm going to partner with them and just kind of step back. And I know you were more involved than I'm simplifying this, but to then just let these thoroughbreds just run, and you just kind of watch them and cheer them on as sort of a big brother, as a mentor, because they speak so highly of you from the moment they met you through today, if we call them right now. But for you to just not have an ego and take control, I think that would be hard for the average guy who you've been in business for years. You built this amazing company and revenue stream, and then you bring in these two young bucks and just say, go for it. What was that like to work with them and watch all that unravel?
Well, it was awesome, because you see this young energy, you see this brilliance. We had a need inside of Pinnacle to have a digital practice, and we did not. We were outsourcing, and we were trying to bring in knowledge, and we weren't finding it. It wasn't. It wasn't really on the. We were on a path, but it wasn't the right path. And when the three of us got together, it was clear that they were visionary. They could see what was coming next. Um, they were fixing other people's problems. We were constantly going into dealerships and fixing their websites so we can do proper SEO and in all sorts of different marketing tactics. So it was something where you have to know what you don't know, and you have to believe that the partnership that you get into is one of trust and one of belief. And we had so many conversations. I've sat in so many different meetings that just dealers are skeptical by nature, and when their jaws drop, I'm just like, oh my God, you guys are you're speaking a language that I don't understand, but it's something that nobody else is talking about the way that you guys talk about it. So it was a learning process for me. It was I'm not going to get in the way of brilliance, but I'm here to support it. I'm here to feed it with more clients, and together we're all going to learn. I probably learned the most because I started at such a lower level of knowledge when it comes to digital, but it was just being around them was just an incredible experience. And you go from 3 employees to 350 employees from 2011 to 2016 or 2017, whenever, I think it was 350, it might have been 400. Either way, that is hyper growth. And to be able to manage that growth and the people aspect, we all know, that's not the easiest thing in the world. And then you've got the tech side with Dealer Inspire and all of that, incredible responsibility and just drive to build the best platform out there to compete with, these legacy auto traders of the world. I mean, that's a monumental feat, and one that I'm very proud to be a part of. And I'm blessed to be around Joe and Matt because they're special people.
Yeah, like you, I sat in meetings with them. Listen, Stan, these two could sell ice to freaking Eskimos. These boys, men now, but I would sit there and I had maybe just a click more digital knowledge, Mike, than you when you started with them. I would sit in these meetings and listen to these guys sell stuff, and I'd look at them like, I don't think we can. We really do that? Like, I'm thinking this in my brain.
Yeah.
We'd leave the meeting and I'd go, Matt and Joe, can we do that? And like, no, but we'll figure it out. I mean, they just and they did figure it out. So and we're delivering, and they were so Stan, it was like kind of like TrueCar at the beginning, and then after the swirl, that's the energy and fun. And they weren't really selling; they were just casting these visions and dreams, and people were lined up with checkbooks to invest in their company, which most times I think they turn down, thankfully, and then buy their product. I mean, it was just unbelievable to watch them work, sell, and deliver. And I don't know that I've met two harder working guys. I mean, 24/7. I could call them at midnight and they'd still be going. So
absolutely, and that's the cool thing about those guys is that when you start at the bottom and you have to build client by client to get to your ultimate goal, they took every client call. Somebody would call them, they'd call them back. And I mean, it didn't matter if they were launch's smallest client or the biggest client. They always either took the call or returned that call. And I just know that, the clients that Pinnacle had that we were all together with, they would always remark, hey, that's one thing I love about your guys' company is that the top people are the people that are the most responsive, and they just appreciate that culture.
Mike, when they said, okay, we got launch humming, we're cruising, we're building, we're growing, we got revenue, when they said, let's do a website company, what'd you think?
So, it was a logical step because they said, my God, we're constantly fixing other companies' websites. Why don't we just build our own? And that way we know that it's architected properly, it's engineered properly, it's, everything that they're fixing would be taken care of in the build process and in the maintenance process. So, it was, we were, I don't know, 18 months into the company, 12, 18 months into Launch Digital Marketing when they, both Joe and Matt started talking about doing that and taking that leap. And, the trajectory that we were on, why wouldn't I believe that they couldn't do that? And so, of course, I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And Stan, for context, they took a WordPress platform, a free platform, and adapted it for automotive. So they were so disruptive because everyone else was building these, legacy technology, and like Mike said, had all these issues and problems and glitches. And it was just such a pain. And they were like, screw it. We're taking WordPress. We're going to convert it to automotive space. And brilliantly, almost overnight, I felt like, Mike, where it was like their websites, you talk about hyper, growth and project. People were like, these are the coolest websites we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Dealer Fire had good design, but they married that with good design, good support, and good technology because it was WordPress, open source.
Yeah. Yeah. It was genius.
So fast forward, things are humming. You're working together. You're playing off each other, and you get a call from either Matt or Joe that says, "Hey, somebody big wants to buy us." What was that call like and experience like?
Yeah. So we sat down, and Joe had learned that a large suitor in our own backyard was interested in buying a dealership website platform. So after learning that, he immediately, this is the skill and intellect of Joe. I don't know if he went right to Alex Vetter, or who's the CEO of Cars.com, or how that connection actually worked, but they were interested. They didn't realize that Dealer Inspire was right here in Naperville. So they just said, "Hey, listen, we there is real interest in Cars.com, and we'd like to go down that path." And so, Joe carried the ball for the most part and went through the process. And when they came up with a valuation of what both companies, Dealer Inspire and Launch Digital Marketing, was worth, they gave us an offer, and I don't know the intricacies of how often it went back and forth and how they got to the final number, but I just remember the final number. And from 2011 to 2017, to go from an idea to $165 million is that's pretty sweet.
That is sweet. That's a nice payday.
Yeah,
it is. But
especially when they're working kind of for free. And again, that's to me the beauty of, and I said earlier on jokingly, but not, the nice guy, the coach, the cheerleader, the big brother just kind of sits back and helps them get started and launched, no pun intended, gives them all these clients. They had to sell them and they had to service them, but you gave them access to trustingly to your, community of customers. And then just to see, it happened so fast, like in retrospect. And Stan, I think I've shared the story with you. Mike, you may not even know this. That day or two after you guys incorporated, Joe or Matt called me and Bill and like, meet us downtown at Rush Street. And we're like, why? And they're like, just meet us downtown. So the four of us downtown at Tavern on Rush, and I'm sure you're shocked by this, Mike. Many bottles of champagne were drunk.
Yes.
Drank. And that was the day. So really, there's not too many things I regret in life, but I would have been employee number 3, 4 in that deal. But they were just starting, and we're like, guys, we have jobs. We love you. We will bring you all the business we can, but you can't really afford us day one. They were eating ramen noodles and, working partly at your place and partly in Joe's basement or garage. I'm like, hey, I'm at like kind of like you, Mike, I'm at that season where I got to have some steady income. I can't go IFCOM, but it would have been nice to be. It was nice. It was fun, and I'm so proud to know all you guys through that journey. But to be there involved in it, like you were, and getting them rolling, and then getting a piece of that payout was amazing. And you said you're blessed. My question to you is, after that, it had to be a little bit hard for you to like, hey man, I just got this payday. I watch this thing, to keep your other more traditional business rolling, and growing on top of that. So kind of maybe take us from when that happened to now, because Stan, he's bought other agencies and they're even bigger and badder than they were back then. Pinnacle is now.
That payday was could have been life changing if that's the path that I wanted to go down. But I'm still young. I have a long runway. I've worked since I'm 12 years old. I don't know anything different. And so, plus I love what I do. And I love my team, the employees. It's, this is a passion for me in what I'm doing. I don't, I wasn't looking to cash out. I'm talking about Pinnacle. I'm not looking to cash out. I'm looking about what can I do next. I did have a couple clients ask me, why, I'd be going to their meetings still and everything. Like, why are you at these meetings, And because I love what I do, and I said, what else would I be doing? So, it's, I still show up every day. I'm still, we're doing a lot of technology forward type of investing. We've just completed the complete build and launch of a very, very robust CDP. So there's a lot of project work that I'm doing. There's a lot of customer relationship that I'm doing. But what drives me every day is honestly, it's the relationships that I have with our clients. It's the opportunity that we have with our clients. It's looking at our clients' business and saying, how do we take it from here and take it to there of where they want to go? Because when they grow, you see them hire more people, you see them add locations. I mean, there's all sorts of things that are impacted by what we do. We're not the only part of their business, obviously, but we're a big part of their business. We're one of their largest line item expenses on their P&L, and it's got to have an ROI. So I get excited by that. That's it's fun for me.
Well, and you've been through so many cycles now with 08, COVID, and to tighten the belt and then thrive, and tighten the belt and thrive. So you've been through more than most businesses could stand, and you're stronger for it and bigger for it than ever, which is amazing.
I think one of the interesting things about the 08-09 recession is that it prepared me for COVID. So interestingly, I got into a LOI, a letter of intent of an agency in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it was a competitor, and she was ready to sell. So the timing was good. And so we came to agreement in November of 2019. We closed on, I think, January 5th of 2020. And then March of 2020, the world shuts down.
Yeah.
So it's just like the timing of that was, holy cow. Now we got to figure out how to work remotely. The interesting part about it was that either way, we're going to work remotely with the Scottsdale operation, and the way that we were going to integrate our teams together. But now I've got 130 people here in the Chicagoland area that we've got to figure out how to work remotely. And so what I was able to do from the education that I got from 08-09 was, how do I make the right decisions to make sure that the company is in good shape? I laid people off quickly based on what clients' needs were. And in the auto industry, an amazing group of retailers they're able to figure out how to sell cars during, like, right in the beginning of COVID. I mean, what a challenge that had to be with the equipment that they had to buy to sanitize the cars, to take a test drive. I mean, they figured it out, and they figured it out quick.
Yeah.
And so, then they started advertising again when there was some demand, but PPP played a role in it, and it allowed me to bring my pretty much my whole staff back, pay them what we weren't able to pay them during the first 4 or 5 weeks that we had to lay them off, but brought everybody back, gave them all their back pay. It all worked out great. So, but it was
Amazing.
that was a crazy time.
So how big? We won't spend a ton of time on it, but because I want to talk about one of my favorite customers that I use every day when I get my car. But how big? Because you have offices now where Scottsdale,
Scottsdale, San Francisco, and right here in Schaumburg.
Okay, so bigger footprint, bigger customer base, and then Stan and I have talked about this because there's another Tribune guy that started a little business back in the day that Michael has serviced for many years. And Mike is the only guy that I know that's had commercials on the Super Bowl that he's produced or been behind. So tell us a little about that little company and your relationship with him. Hopefully that's all still rolling along. And
Oh yeah.
if not, he had a good run because you serviced him a long time.
No, we've so that's WeatherTech you're talking about, and WeatherTech is a great customer of ours. We've got a phenomenal partnership together. We've been together for 16 years now, and we started with them when they were just this enthusiast type of product that really was marketed through all of the enthusiast magazines, Road and Track, Car and Driver, those types of things. And he came to us looking for a way to go general market. He had tried to go general market a couple times. He wasn't able to do it with his internal marketing department. He's like, I got to get an agency that understands retail. And so anyway, we got together, and the very first conversation that I had with him, I'm in his conference room, and we're talking, and he gave me this tour of his facility, and he did manufacture the tooling that makes the molds for the floor liners that go in your car. He manufactured the tooling, not all of it, but he did it here in Downers Grove, Illinois, and then he outsourced some of it to other tooling manufacturers right here in the Chicago area. And then he had the actual floor liners manufactured in Kansas, Missouri. So that was where he would send his tooling. They would actually make the floor liners and then ship them back to Chicago. And he started manufacturing them himself a little bit here in Downers Grove. But in that first meeting, he said, listen, I want to grow this company. I believe that we can go general market. And he said, my goal is to advertise on the Super Bowl. Not because I've got a big ego, but because my business has grown so much that it makes business sense to be on the Super Bowl. Can you get me on the Super Bowl? And so I looked him dead in the eyes and I said, yeah, we can get you on the Super Bowl. And 5 years later, we're on the Super Bowl. And that was, to me, that was one of the hallmark challenges in my career, that somebody, the Super Bowl for an ad agency is the Super Bowl for us in our industry, right? You don't get bigger than that. So for an agency out of Schaumburg, Illinois, to be able to produce a commercial, and now 13 commercials on the Super Bowl, is just, it's a treasure. It's an absolute treasure. And so we've helped grow his company exponentially from one building, and actually 2 buildings in Downers Grove, to, I don't know, he's got 10 in Bolingbrook. And they're just massive factories and warehouses and shipping facilities. And he's brilliant. He's a great operator. He has vision. And can I swear on this program?
Sure. Sure.
He's got balls as big as church bells. I mean, this guy is, when he sets his mind to it and he believes, he does it. And I think that's what's special about him, because I don't think there's a lot of people that are risk takers to the level where he's like, I'm willing to invest X amount, which is significant. If I fail, I failed trying. I didn't scare myself away from a big number being the barrier to, incredible success. And that's what I love about this guy, because he's always thinking, he's always looking at new products. He's expanding, his offerings. You go to his website, he's got hundreds of products now. And it's not just for your car, it's for your home, it's for pets. I mean, it's cool. It's cool to watch a brilliant guy like that.
Well, Michael, you've obviously done a great job, because I don't know of anybody who isn't aware of WeatherTech. I mean, the advertising works. Everybody knows WeatherTech, and it just does come across as a really solid product. By the way, we'd love to have him as our guest on What Drives You, Michael.
I actually, Mike, was gonna put as we started this, because on YouTube you got to be careful about sponsorships and disclosures and all that other stuff. But I'm like, well, I bought WeatherTech. It's in my car. I am kind of I'm in there every dang day. I mean, I'm kind of sponsored by them, just like my day job and these other things. But staying on top of that, this guy he's one of those guys who started so small, and some of the stories, Mike, you can maybe corroborate. Like, the guy was selling this stuff out of his trunk to now into this monstrosity of a company. But he also really actually loves cars. He loves collecting them. He loves racing them. He loves buying and selling them. I mean, he's a car guy.
He's a car guy through and through. It is amazing. Yeah, he's very knowledgeable. He's totally into the racing aspect. He is the corporate sponsor for IMSA WeatherTech. It's the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. So I mean, he's totally into it. He's sponsoring a NASCAR. So I mean, he is a car guy through and through.
Well, Mike, we might come back to you and talk, because part of our dream, if we're talking about what drives you in the channel, we want to turn these conversations that we're having into an experience. So Stan lives in Austin, right down the street from Circuit of the Americas. And I don't know how many years ago this was, Stan, but we got some tickets for F1. TrueCar did, because we kind of sponsored it. We had a racing team. So we all went to that F1, and it was bonkers. But that track sits there probably 98% of the year with nothing on it.
Yeah.
So I want What Drives You to be that, like, hey, Mike, fly down to Austin. Let's go out on the track, and then let's do this conversation. That's what we're driving towards, and it will be just a fun. So I talked to Cole about that, and he's like, Carl, you know how expensive it is to rent the track? I'm like, I can imagine, but think of the guests you could get if that was part of this conversation and experience of what drives you. So
yeah, that would be fun.
Definitely be fun. Well, thank you again.
Speaking of cars,
let's quick touch on our car questions.
Yeah.
And then
all right. So we do this with everybody, Michael. We're going to rapid fire a few questions at you.
All right.
So what was your very first car?
A Pontiac T1000.
All right.
Also, no,
I haven't had a Pontiac yet.
It's the brother to a Chevy Chevette. So just the Pontiac version of the Chevy Chevette.
Yeah, my dad got a Chevy Chevette when I was in high school, and I went around telling my friends that my dad got a brand new Vet, and they're like, "Your dad got a Corvette?" And I'm like, "Nope, a Chevette." But all right, what was your favorite car you've ever had?
The favorite car I ever had is the one of them that I'm driving now, and that is a 2020 F-150 Raptor.
Oh, nice.
It's a beast, and it's a blast to drive. I love that truck.
Nice, nice. Okay, and if you could have any vehicle, what is your fantasy vehicle?
I think it would be a performance vehicle, and it would be the Ferrari 488.
All right.
That would
all
be
good choices. I like it. Nice. It's interesting because a lot of the people we have on this show, they've had some things go well in their lives. And a lot of times when we ask them what their favorite car is, we hear a lot of times where it's pretty much the car I'm driving right now, which is well earned, right?
Yeah,
After
yeah,
all the hard
totally.
work and everything, you should be driving what you really like. All right, Carl, take it away.
Well, Mike, we warned you a little bit about this one, so I'm sure it'll be an interesting spin. But we call it our wow question. We kind of wrap up all these episodes with this, which is words of wisdom. So, what would young Mike, 18-year-old Mike, who's in that, and you kind of shared a little bit about that journey, what do you wish you knew then, what you knew now? So, if you could go back in time and tell young Mike, hey, don't even waste your time on that writing stuff or whatever. But words of wisdom is kind of what we hope as people watch this channel and this episode that they can glean. We try and educate, encourage, and entertain. And this is kind of the education component because we know that there's people out there that are at these seasons in life or these milestones where they got to make a decision. So what would you tell young Mike?
There's a couple things that I would tell young Mike. One is, which I did, and it's just out of necessity, get as many jobs as you can when you're young, because you're going to meet people, you're going to learn new things, and you're going to broaden your perspective of what you want to do and what you don't want to do. So as a youngster, if you're 16 years old and going through high school and college, always try to work in you want to be loyal to an employer, seasonal employer, whatever, if it's a good place, but broaden your horizons. Don't sit around to do nothing. You need to go out and learn and get new experiences. And then the second thing I would say is search for a mentor, somebody who you believe is somebody that's going to inspire you, and somebody that you believe has really aligns with what you want to do and where you want to go. And I have a mentor, and he made all the difference in the world to me in my life. And had it not been sitting down with him and having having conversations and listening to his philosophies and really understanding where he's coming from, there's no way I'd be where I am today. So I think those are two areas that I would stress for people 18 and trying to figure out a path in life.
Great advice, Michael. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking time to be with us today. It was really great having you on the show. And yeah, just impressive what you've done. And I'm impressed that you've had all this accomplishment and you're still at it. I don't know if I would have had that payday, I might have said, you know what, I'm pretty good now. But congratulations on everything.
Thank
And
you.
thanks again for joining us on the show.
Hey, I had a great time. I appreciate the invite, and it was nice to talk with you guys.
Michael, you did not disappoint and connected a lot of the dots with our other guests. So thank you. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Everybody, thanks for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. Remember, be good humans. See you next time.
Amen.
See you, Mike.
All right. Take care, guys.